There, I'm Christine Dunbar from SpeechModification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Word of the Day series, where I've been taking your requests for words you'd like help to pronounce in American English. Today's request was for how to pronounce the phrase amount of, and we're going to look at the word amount and break it down, look at amount of, talk about the different ways you can say this and what you're going to most likely hear native speakers saying when they're using this phrase. So first of all, in the word amount, we have second syllable stress. So the mound syllable is long, mount syllable is long, and the syllable is short. So letter A says the sound sounds like a schwa in this word. So to practice getting the rhythm correct, I would focus on saying mount, amount. So say that second syllable first, then add your first syllable. And you might have noticed already when I've been saying this word that some of the time I've been saying amount with a little bit of a T sound, letting the air out, amount. Other times I've been saying amount where I use what's called a stopped T there. And basically you don't really hear that T sound. It sounds like amount. I go up to mark the T and I don't let it out. So when a word ends with T, we often use a stopped T sound. The difference here with amount is that it has an NT, and often another pattern that we have in American English is that words with NT, we leave the T off entirely. What I don't want to do, I don't want to do that when I'm saying the word amount by itself, because what I don't want to do is hold that N. So I don't want amount with a long N. That'll be noticeably different than amount, where if I leave the T off, I just need to make that N very short. Amount. I don't know the exact amount. So that's different than when the NT's in the middle of the word. For example, in a word like international, I either will say it with a true T, international, you'll hear that T. Often you'll hear international. Often you'll hear that said more like international. So this one, international, is not technically correct in the dictionary, but many native speakers use that. So you can think about, if you don't hear the T, that's why. If I do use the T, I do want to make sure there's a release of air, international. Same thing with amount. If I use the T, amount, I can let a little T out. Otherwise, I'm going to make that stop T at the end of the word amount. But then when I'm linking in a phrase like amount of, I'm going to probably either hear that T, amount of, with a little bit more air. It's not really going to be amount of. It's not going to go to that same linked T. So when I say, for example, get it, and I link it, it sounds more like get it, because the linked final T, when it links to a vowel sound, turns into a flap, sounds more like a D. When I have NT, amount of, it sounds incorrect. So I don't turn this T into a flap. If I link it, I'm either going to just put that T with a puff of air, amount of, or here's what you're probably most likely hearing, is that this is where, because the NT now is more like it is in international, where it's more medial, you'll end up hearing amount of. And there, I don't have to stop the air, and my N might be a little longer. I'm not going to hold it a long time, amount of. That would sound weird, but there's no T whatsoever in the most common way. So to summarize, the most common way that you'll hear Americans pronounce amount of is amount of with no T. You can also sometimes hear amount of with a little T, and then the T might be more aspirated. What you aren't going to hear is a flap T like amount of. That'll sound strange. So when I can say amount and amount of by themselves, I do want to practice in some short phrases. Now, amount of is already a phrase, but build up your phrase a little bit longer, like the amount of people there, the right amount of money, trying to use it how you would naturally say it in everyday speech. So even though this is a fairly straightforward seeming phrase, two-word phrase, it's pretty complex in terms of how it's spoken by native speakers and what you need to listen for to try to hear it correctly and pronounce it correctly, or pronounce it in a native-like way. Of course, there's multiple correct pronunciations. I'm just describing what typical American English speakers will do. Okay, thank you for that request. That was an interesting topic with a lot of different details to pay attention to. I'll be back again tomorrow with another Word of the Day class, as well as on Friday, we'll have our live question and answer class. You can get more details about how sounds change, what we do with the T in the middle of words and at the ends of words in my videos for that. Also, you can see more details about that in our online courses on speechmodification.com. We have a Sounds of English course that walks you through all the different sounds, will tell you about the T sound in the different positions, and help you practice to speak that way. We also have our American Accent 6-week course, is a great course for looking at things like linking, American accent, what's different in American English versus other dialects of English. So I encourage you to check those out on speechmodification.com. All of our online courses are either free or they're available for $2 or less, so that you can use those as a strong foundation to improve your pronunciation overall when speaking English. Thanks so much, those of you who have subscribed to the channel, and especially those of you who have joined as channel members. You can leave your requests for a Word of the Day video on this video, and if you're a channel member, I'll cover it every Sunday. If you're not a channel member, I'll add it to my list and I'll cover it as soon as I can. I'm running about 2 months behind now because we have so many wonderful requests. So thank you and keep them coming. If you can't wait for your request, you can, as I said, join as a channel member and you'll get expedited results. Or you can come to our Friday live question and answer class and I'll answer it for you in that class. Thanks everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Hope to see you again soon.